Hey guys, it's me, Kim, back again with another Ask Kim. This question is coming from Alyssa. I really hope that that's not your real name. I just came up with that name off the top of my head, but I also cannot remember the name on the email. So Alyssa says, "Hey Kimberly, formal. I'm writing in regards to a conversation and question I had in my women's gender studies class on pop culture. We were on the topic of ideologies, and the ideology of white supremacy came along the screen. When the words white supremacy came across the PowerPoint, one white female in my class picked up her bags and walked out of the class. Typical. In class, a girl raised her hand and mentioned a Netflix special that showcased white people being held captive in South Africa and stating how they've been fighting against black supremacy. Soon as she said that, I squealed. She stated how relatable the white people felt in relation to how black people fear white supremacy. This is the reason for my question to you. I enjoy your work and how beautiful and articulate you carry yourself and your views and values. Thank you. What this girl stated in my class rubbed me the wrong way. I wasn't sure if I was overreacting. However, I did take a deep breath. And after that, I wrote down and calculated what I wanted to say and finally raised my hand and said, I don't agree with the statement of black people living with fear of white supremacy. I feel that it is systematic and microscopic, not fear. Something in my heart propelled me to express my disdain for the girl's statement on fear. My teacher replied, well, if it's not fear, then what is it? And I replied, survival. In my eyes, I don't believe black people live in fear of white supremacy. I believe it is a mechanism that constitutes survival, not fear. Please help me. I'm not sure if what I said was articulated in a correct and clear way. Am I way off? Please let me know. I respect your critique. Just for next time I'm approached with such pushback, I want to articulate a better argument outside of pure emotion. Thank you." Hey girl. So I actually understand why you reacted the way you did. We do not want white people to think that they have any kind of power over us whatsoever. Individually, they don't, but structurally, they do. And I don't care if white folks like me or whatever. That does not affect my day to day. It has no power over me on a one-on-one level. But white supremacy, which is structural and pervasive, absolutely does. I have tremendous fear about the toll structural inequality takes on black people and black communities. And I believe that those fears are valid. I think fear is a function of the human condition, and I think fear can keep you safe sometimes. So let's go through it one by one. One, black folks know that black parents give their children, quote, the talk about how to interact with police. We know that police are much more likely to use force on black people, that black children are seen as older than they are, and that police are emboldened by the fact that if they misbehave, if they misuse force, they will probably not see any consequences for that misbehavior. And that is a function of policing being a tool of white supremacist dominance. And no, it doesn't matter if the cop is a woman or a non-white person, they are still participating in an apparatus of white supremacy. I know that personally, I've absolutely experienced fear interacting with police from personal experiences that I've had, from things that I've seen for people in my immediate circle, and also things, of course, that we see circulating in the media and on social media. That fear is, I think, very normalized in black communities and absolutely valid because the police are out here acting crazy. Furthermore, I have two nieces. I have lots of fears about how white supremacy is going to infect their thinking, how white supremacy might overdetermine how they understand themselves and see themselves in the world. For girls in particular, I know how corrosive mass media images can be. And I know that kids can interact with them without the knowledge of their caregivers, right? So as much as me and the people in my family try to intervene and try to promote positivity, it can still be seeping into their brain because we live in a what? White supremacist society. And I know that once you're affected by that stuff at an early age, you're probably going to have to spend the rest of your life undoing what you've learned. Additionally, I know they're little kids now, but I also worry about their physical safety in a white supremacist world. We right now and probably in the future live in a country that allows white supremacists to use their power, to wield their power in an unchecked fashion. For girls, those physical threats look a bit different. They often look like sexual assault. I worry about that. That scares me. And of course, I'm a big history buff. I love to hear older people talk about their lives and what they've been through. I'm also an Oklahoman. And one thing that we see over and over again in Black American history is that it takes a long time for Black folks to build stuff up, but only a second for all of that stuff to be torn down. So yeah, I know lots of people, and I myself am afraid of what white supremacy can do. Now let's talk about humanity. So all these bombs have been sent to Democratic leadership, and in an interview, Representative Maxine Waters said, "I ain't scared." And my initial reaction was like, yeah, go girl, like they're not gonna see us sweat. But at the same time, fear is a completely legitimate emotion to feel when someone sends a bomb to your office. And I feel like Black people are taught to suppress that fear rather than deal with it and manage it, which is something else. Fear does not have to consume your life. Um, but that doesn't mean that you aren't going to feel it. And it's not fair to us that we deny ourselves the right to feel the full range of emotions because we think or we know that the larger culture is going to attempt to capitalize on that stuff. I think it's important for us, instead of waiting for the culture to change and to finally view us as full human beings, to just do it. Feel what you feel, express what you feel, and not pretend like it's not there. There's just too much pressure on us to not feel emotions. And finally, I've been incredibly well behaved in my life. I don't smoke weed. I have had an edible once, and I'm definitely open to marijuana. I'm definitely open to marijuana baked goods, but I've never smoked weed, never done any drugs because I'm incredibly risk averse. I'm afraid of being arrested. I'm afraid of going to jail or having any interaction with the criminal justice system because that does not work out well for Black people, no matter who you are, where you went to school, how much money your parents have. So since I was young, I was like, I don't want those problems. I'm not doing any of that. I'll just be over here and be boring. And so far, being cautious like that has worked for me. Vetting folks I hang out with and get involved with, not going certain places, not doing certain stuff, that has helped me tremendously to avoid interaction with the criminal justice system. But I know that stuff does not work for everyone. But still, if I were talking to my mentees or little cousins today, I would caution them about exercising good judgment so they can do whatever they can to not get caught up and not have your lives derailed forever over minor stuff. That doesn't mean that it can't happen or it won't happen, but I do believe in doing what you can do to avoid it. And that's a real fear. So in conclusion, I understand not wanting to express all that stuff I just said in front of a white person, especially if you think that they don't get it. If you think that They don't care about racism. They're not invested in checking their privilege. They objectify us. Girl, you don't have to go into all that. But I do think it's really important to recognize the power of fear in our lives just for ourselves. I think that is an appropriate descriptor for the sorts of terror that white supremacy enacts in our lives. I mean, you know, we know that the federal government is real hesitant to call the terror enacted on black folks and the terror that dominates black lives terrorism, but that is exactly what it is. And terrorism is meant to inspire fear. That's the entire purpose of it. And it is okay for us to say, yeah, that's what's going on here. I hope that we're not suppressing that stuff or ignoring that stuff because we have to be quote unquote strong or whatever. Nope. Nope. I'm absolutely afraid. So that's all I have on that. Thank you so much for sending that question, Alyssa. I hope that that's not your name. I took out all of the biographical details in the letter, so nobody will know who this is. Um, Thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Send me questions if you want to. Find my email address. If you really care, you will find it. That's all I got. Join the Patreon, buy some merch, sign up for the email newsletter. Bye. Thank you guys.